Intimacy of touch with moon in Chitra Nakshatra, sculpting emotion through skin. For your Chitra moon, touch is an art form, crafted, calibrated, and deeply intentional. Ruled by Tivastar, the celestial architect, and seated at the Virgo-Libra cusp, your emotional body seeks to create beauty through sensation. You are not casual about physical closeness. You touch to sculpt connection, to build harmony, inspire closeness, and express what words can only hint at. Your touch is aesthetic, refined, and emotionally intelligent. You notice the way your partner leans toward you when vulnerable. You observe tension in the shoulders, the hesitation in the hands. And then, with quiet grace, you offer physical presence that restores symmetry. A thumb stroking a wrist, the hand that straightens a collar, the fingers that trace outlines when words feel too heavy. You do not rush into touch. You approach it like a designer approaches form, with purpose. Even your sensuality is laced with precision. You touch not for dominance or approval, but to say, I see you, I understand your emotional geometry, and I will meet it with elegance. Your emotional fulfillment arises when your touch is received with reverence, not rushed or overlooked. You prefer environments that support beauty and stillness, spaces where intimacy unfolds slowly, like an artwork in progress. In such settings, you allow your sensuality to blossom, expressing both balance and depth, poise and passion. The challenge for your Chitra moon lies in perfectionism. You may withhold touch if it doesn't feel right, if the setting isn't aligned, or if you feel emotionally disrespected. You may expect your partner to match your sense of timing, grace, and awareness. And when they don't, you might retreat, not with drama, but with quiet aesthetic disappointment. To deepen this form of intimacy, say, touch for me is art. I offer it when I feel emotionally attuned and energetically respected. Or, I connect most through touch that feels intentional, not rushed, but crafted with care. Because for your Chitra moon, intimacy is not just about holding or being held. It is about designing a moment of symmetry between two hearts, where beauty, presence, and feeling meet in silence. And when you're touched with that same sensitivity, not as performance, but as devotion, you respond with a love that is elegant, focused, and unforgettable. Because in your hands, love doesn't just move, it builds something exquisite. Intimacy of sensate with moon in Chitra Nakshatra, beauty as emotional frequency. For your Chitra moon, sensate intimacy is the harmony of aesthetic and emotional resonance. Ruled by Tavastar, the celestial craftsman, and seated on the Virgo-Libra cusp, your emotional world craves refined, balanced, and emotionally congruent sensory experiences. You don't just see, hear, or feel. You curate each sensation like a designer curates form, color, and space. You are exquisitely responsive to your sensory environment. Sight, for you, is everything. Color, light, symmetry, grace. You feel most emotionally safe in environments that are visually intentional, well-designed rooms, soft lighting, artful arrangements. Clutter, chaos, or harsh aesthetics can quietly unground you. Sound must also have emotional texture. You absorb tone before content. How something is said matters more than what is said. You are drawn to voices that carry calm, melody, or emotional clarity. Even music becomes a mood architecture. You may crave instrumental tones, minimalist rhythms, or lyrical depth that matches your inner tempo. Touch must be timed, attuned, and offered with awareness. A partner's hand resting lightly on yours during silence may mean more than a full-body embrace. You aren't overwhelmed by sensuality, you are elevated by its thoughtfulness. You feel safest when physicality honors space, mood, and mutual rhythm. Smell and taste, too, are tied to design and emotional harmony. The scent of jasmine in early evening, fresh fruit laid out just right. Perfumes that are understated but unforgettable. For you, these aren't indulgences. They're emotional frequencies that regulate your nervous system and deepen your trust. The challenge for your Chitra moon is that you may unconsciously require perfection in order to receive. A partner's uncoordinated gestures, a room out of alignment, or affection that feels clumsy may pull you out of emotional presence. But real intimacy begins when you let love be beautiful in its imperfection. To deepen this intimacy, say, I feel connected when my senses are met with intention, not intensity, when beauty feels emotionally true. Or, my body opens when the environment speaks to my emotions through rhythm, balance and quiet care. Because for your Chitra moon, sensate intimacy is not about stimulation. It is about symmetry between outer form and inner feeling. When someone creates a world around you where each sense is not just activated but respected, you respond with the rarest of gifts. A love that is not only felt, but designed to last. Intimacy of kindness with moon and Chitra Nakshatra, grace in the gesture, love in the alignment. For your Chitra moon, kindness is a form of emotional architecture, measured, intentional, and deeply dignified. Ruled by Tvastar, the celestial artisan, your heart is wired not just for love, but for the design of love. You long for kindness that is not impulsive, but balanced, beautiful, and emotionally congruent. Your emotional body responds most deeply to care that feels crafted with thought, not just offered with feeling. You are not swayed by vague sweetness or shallow charm. You need kindness that arrives with precision. A partner who notices your discomfort before you voice it. A friend who texts when you've withdrawn, not because they want something, but because they know your quiet is sacred. You are most moved by acts that show understanding of your inner patterns, not just surface emotions. You offer kindness through elegant presence. You'll straighten someone's jacket before they walk into a room. You'll send a gift that perfectly reflects a conversation from months ago. Your kindness is not loud, it's aligned. And when you give from a place of deep emotional refinement. But your shadow emerges when that level of attention is not returned. You may feel unseen or disrespected if kindness comes in a form that feels careless or generic. You may withdraw, not in anger, but in quiet recalibration. Why offer beauty where there is no symmetry, you may wonder. And yet, real intimacy for your Chitra moon is found not just in receiving perfectly, but in allowing kindness to be real, even when it's raw. Your emotional growth blooms when you remember, not all love arrives elegantly, but it can still be sincere. To deepen this intimacy, say, I feel safest when kindness is thoughtful, when it reflects awareness of who I am, not just what I feel. Or, my love language is alignment. I give and receive best when kindness feels emotionally precise. Because for your Chitra moon, kindness is not only about warmth, it's about intentionality. It's how you know love is being built, not in haste, but with care. Not just offered, but placed, like a stone in a sacred design. And when someone meets you there, in the quiet geometry of kindness, you give back a kind of love that's not only beautiful, but built to last. Intimacy of growth with moon in Chitra Nakshatra, becoming as a beautiful process. For your Chitra moon, growth is not about quick fixes or chaotic transformation. It is about conscious evolution, thoughtfully sculpted over time. Ruled by Tvastar, the divine architect, and positioned on the Virgo-Libra axis, your emotional self is deeply invested in refinement, design, and the process of becoming more aligned with your inner vision. Growth, to you, must feel graceful, even when it's messy beneath the surface. You grow through reflection and recalibration, not rupture. You want partners who honor that process, who don't rush you to arrive at clarity, but walk beside you as you refine your direction. You're most emotionally nourished by relationships that say, take your time, let it unfold. In that space, you evolve beautifully, layer by layer, like a work of art in progress. You support your partner's growth in the same way, with care, with detail, and with a subtle insistence on mutual alignment. You encourage them to elevate, to become more of who they truly are, but always through feedback that is emotionally intelligent and timed with sensitivity. Yet your challenge is in your desire for perfection. You may expect yourself or your relationship to grow in clean lines, forgetting that real intimacy often moves through phases that are uneven, unclear, or emotionally raw. You might withdraw if the path forward feels messy or misaligned, but your deeper capacity lies in holding structure without suffocation, in trusting that growth can be organic, even when it's not symmetrical. To deepen this form of intimacy, say, I evolve through clarity and care. I grow best when supported with patience, not pressure. Or, I want love that grows consciously, with intention and space for refinement, not demands for perfection. Because for your Chitra moon, growth is not about chasing transformation, it's about sculpting it. It's the emotional intelligence to revise, redesign, and renew, to step back, refine the line, and return with a more honest shape. And when you're with someone who sees growth the way you do, not as crisis, but as craft, you unfold your heart like a blueprint ready to be co-authored. Because for you, love must be built, not just felt. And growth is the way you make love beautiful, again and again. Intimacy of activity with Moon and Chitra Nakshatra, crafting connection through shared creation. For your Chitra Moon, activity becomes intimate when it involves co-creation, beauty, and shared intentionality. Ruled by Tivastar, the celestial architect, and aligned with the precision of Virgo and the aesthetic grace of Libra, you seek emotional closeness not through chaotic motion, but through purposeful doing, collaborative refinement, and the joy of building something together. You are not drawn to aimless busyness. You thrive in shared activities that carry aesthetic rhythm and emotional alignment. Designing a space together, organizing a bookshelf with care, cooking a meal not just to eat but to create a moment. These experiences aren't mundane for you. They are rituals of emotional harmony, where your love for detail and beauty finds a living form. You open most when tasks are shared with respect and rhythm. You want a partner who notices the steps involved, who honors your timing, who collaborates instead of competes. Even mundane tasks become sacred when done with mutual presence and care. You are a natural initiator of shared structure, but you don't want to manage everything alone. You want emotional partnership in the practical. And yet, your challenge lies in over-curating shared experiences. If something feels misaligned, rushed, disorganized, emotionally tone-deaf, you may pull back or try to correct it rather than allow it to flow. At times, you may prefer to do things alone just to maintain your own standard. But part of your growth lies in allowing collaboration to be imperfect and intimacy to unfold in less scripted ways. To deepen this form of intimacy, say, I feel closest when what we do together feels intentional and harmonized, not forced, not chaotic. Or, I open through collaboration when our shared actions reflect presence, care, and emotional alignment. Because for your Chitra Moon, activity is a medium of quiet intimacy, not in how much you do, but how you do it together. Love shows up in the brushstroke, the detail, the gesture, in the way your energies merge toward a shared result, a more beautiful whole. And when someone joins you, not to take over, not to rush, but to craft life with you, you feel not just supported, but creatively and emotionally seen. Because for you, intimacy isn't built in words alone. It is shaped, adjusted, and designed one shared moment at a time. Intimacy of allowance with Moon and Chitra Nakshatra, space for the becoming, grace for the unfinished. For your Chitra Moon, intimacy of allowance is the freedom to be a work in progress, without judgment, without urgency. Ruled by Tvastar, the celestial architect, and spread across Virgo's perfection and Libra's poise, you are emotionally wired to refine, improve, and align. But beneath all your grace lies a quiet, sacred question. Can I be loved while I'm still becoming? You long to be held not only in your polished moments, but also in your drafts. You thrive when you're given room to adjust your inner scaffolding, to clarify your emotions in solitude, to process before presenting. You're not withholding, you're refining. You're not distant, you're searching for symmetry between how you feel and how you show up. What you need most is someone who won't rush your process or demand a final product. You feel closest to those who can sit beside your stillness without poking at it, who can love the gaps in your self-expression, the pauses in your articulation, the mood swings between critique and beauty. In turn, you offer others the gift of dignified space. You rarely force people to conform. When emotionally secure, you allow your partner to hold their own shape, even if it doesn't match your inner blueprint. You know that relationships, like art, require both composition and contrast to feel alive. But your challenge emerges when your need for order gets tangled with expectation. You may begin to edit someone else's process, offering help that feels like correction, or subtly withdrawing love when things feel misaligned. You may even delay receiving love until you feel emotionally ready, denying yourself the very intimacy that could soften your edges. To deepen this intimacy, say, I need space to unfold without being rushed. I trust best when I am seen as whole, even while evolving. Or, I thrive in relationships where imperfection is not just allowed, but welcomed. Because for your Chitra moon, allowance is not indifference. It is devotion with a wide lens. It is the love that says, you do not need to be finished to be worthy. And when someone offers you that kind of grace, without trying to shape you too soon or mold you too tightly, you blossom, not just into beauty, but into trust. Because the deepest intimacy for you is not perfection, it's being honored in your design stage. Messy, magical, and still becoming. Intimacy of giving with moon in Chitra Nakshatra, gifting as artful devotion. For your Chitra moon, giving is a sacred performance, a beautiful act of intention, detail, and emotional craftsmanship. Ruled by Tivastar, the divine artisan, you are not a careless giver. You don't offer love just because it's expected. You offer it when it means something, when it reflects both who you are and how deeply you see the other. You give through aesthetic precision and heartfelt design, a hand-picked gift that captures a memory, a compliment wrapped in poise, a handwritten note with careful phrasing. Your giving carries weight because it is tailored, textured, and timed. You don't just want to be generous, you want to be meaningfully generous. At your best, your giving is a love language of elevation. You want to inspire, to create moments of beauty that mirror your inner emotional architecture. You give not to control, but to beautify the bond. Through your offerings, acts of service, curated environments, thoughtful words, you say, you matter enough for me to make this exquisite. But your challenge lies in your hidden expectations. You may not ask for much, but when your carefully crafted giving is not seen, appreciated, or matched in emotional intelligence, your moon quietly contracts. You may keep giving on the surface, but your heart closes the door, waiting to see if anyone will notice its absence. Sometimes you may even give instead of asking. Instead of expressing a need, you make yourself indispensable. Instead of being vulnerable, you become impressive. But real intimacy emerges when you give from fullness, not from proving. To deepen this intimacy, say, I give to show care, not to be owed, but I feel most nourished when my giving is felt, not just received. Or, my love lives in the details. I want it to be honored like a gift, not treated like a routine. Because for your Chitra moon, giving is how you design emotional closeness. It's how you turn affection into atmosphere, not flashy, not loud, but elegant, specific, resonant. And when someone recognizes your giving for what it is, not just a gesture, but a sacred offering, you give more deeply, more freely, more radiantly. Because for you, love is not just meant to be shared, it's meant to be crafted. And giving is how you make your love last through beauty. Intimacy of receiving with moon in Chitra Nakshatra, letting love touch the unfinished. For your Chitra moon, receiving is not just about accepting, it's about alignment. Ruled by Tavastar, the celestial architect, and shaped by Virgo's refinement and Libra's poise, you are wired to give with grace and offer beauty. But when love flows back toward you, raw, unrefined, unexpected, you often pause. Not because you don't want it, but because you're silently asking, is this love crafted with care or merely delivered? You receive best when the offering reflects attunement, when someone notices the subtle, when their gesture mirrors your inner blueprint. You feel safe opening when a gift, a word, or an act of affection lands cleanly, neither clumsy nor overcompensated, but paced and personal. Your refined emotional system is sensitive to dissonance. You can feel when someone is giving out of guilt, habit, or self-importance. You may smile and nod, but your inner world stays untouched. For you to truly receive, you must feel. This came from attention, not obligation. This came from knowing, not guessing. And yet, your challenge lies in your own internal filter. You may unintentionally raise the bar so high that very little is allowed in. You may reject love that isn't delivered in the tone or texture you prefer, even if it's genuine. Or worse, you may postpone receiving until you feel ready, trying to polish your vulnerability before letting someone witness it. But real intimacy arises when you allow yourself to be met mid-process, when you receive not because everything is perfect, but because someone wants to offer you love exactly as you are today. To deepen this form of intimacy, say, I receive best when love is offered with intention and clarity, not noise, not pressure. Or I want to feel emotionally seen in the way I'm held, not just touched, but understood. Because for your Chitra moon, receiving is an emotional architecture that requires trust in both the builder and the design. You don't need it to be grand. You need it to be genuine. You don't need it to be polished. You need it to land true. And when someone gives you love that is imperfect but present, not rehearsed but real, you soften. Not into submission, but into grace. Because the most sacred thing for your heart is not being adored when you shine, but being held with beauty when you're still building.